Am I the a-hole for saying my wife will have to quit her job if we get booted from another daycare? My wife and I have a 3-year-old daughter, Alexis. Both of us work, and Alexis has attended daycare since she was 1. In the 2 years since, we have been asked to leave 2 programs because my wife is a micromanager. I admit both of us went into the first program not really understanding daycare. I quickly learned that they can't provide personalized care, and after learning from her teachers, I reset my expectations. My wife, however, has a lot of anxiety and worries about our daughter. She hates when she gets even a little upset. She's in therapy and is working on it. First program. My wife would constantly watch the live feed and call the daycare multiple times a day. We had several talks about it, and the school talked to us twice. My wife ended up screaming at one of the teachers and then the director. We were terminated immediately. Second, daycare was a little better because my wife began therapy, but my wife was still so nervous and had a complaint every single day. These were not important things, small things. Like she saw another child took a toy from Alexis and she would cry. The teacher would give the toy back to Alexis, but my wife didn't understand why the other child wasn't punished for it. This daycare didn't kick us out, but did eventually suggest that this may not be the best program for us. My wife and I decided to pull Alexis out. My wife, because of her anxiety, myself, because I knew my wife had burned bridges and was becoming one of those moms. We chose a smaller home daycare this time, as we couldn't afford another center. The woman who owns it is very nice, but also firm. She stands by her boundaries and won't let my wife break any rules. Whereas the centers were definitely more accommodating. My wife would take any inch she got this time. She doesn't get that opportunity. I thought all was well as the owner only speaks to my wife for the most part. Then I get put in a group text saying, my wife has been bombarding the owner with texts every day, despite the owner saying she will text her at lunch when things are settled. She said at this point, she will only be responding at specific times of the day and not looking the rest. The owner then sent several pages of the contract with passages highlighted, reminding us of certain policies my wife had violated. I was pissed when Alexis went to bed that night. My wife and I talked. I said this was our last option for daycare. The other centers are too expensive, and this was the only home daycare in the area that we like. A nanny is not in our budget. My wife made a million excuses, including that it's not her fault she's anxious. I said, if we're asked to leave this program too, my wife will be the one quitting her job to watch Alexis, not me. This upset my wife. I pointed out I've spoken to her kindly about this plenty of times. I encourage her to keep up her therapy, but she can't keep getting us kicked out of programs. My wife is now not speaking to me. Am I the a-hole now for the advices? Not the hole, to keep it 100% honest with you. 20 years down the line, your daughter is going to hate your wife, and there's a high chance you will not be part of your lives. Your wife is the exact definition of a toxic helicopter parent. She's going to not only ruin your life already in that process, your daughter's life in the future, and her own life. This 100%, not the whole Opie's wife, isn't just a helicopter parent, but steamroller. She will steamroll any and all challenges their daughter will ever face, making sure that their daughter is either terrified of the world or completely incapable of dealing with any kind of disappointment/challenge or both. Oped needs to do something now if he wants a relationship with his daughter, and make sure his daughter doesn't inherit his wage-crippling anxiety. Edit. Wow, thank you for the awards. So sorry to all of you who have experienced and been hindered by your parents' anxiety. I hope you all can heal and learn to give yourself grace. I really hope he reads all of your stories. Thank you for sharing your experiences. The first time she faces even the smallest conflict upon joining the adult world. And that poor girl will shatter like glass. She'll have absolutely no confidence because mom will condition her to do as she's told. Mommy's anxiety knows best when mom continues this behavior into grade school. She'll be ostracized by her peers. That little girl will struggle to connect with friends, and it will further isolate her as she drowns in the anxiety mom instilled in her. This needs to be altered a step. The more time passes by, the more difficult it will become to undo the damage. Am I the a-hole for taking back a gift after I learned the birthday person would not be the one using it? My daughter Jenny, 13, has a best friend, Morgan, nearly 13. The two of them spend a lot of time together at our place. I do not know Morgan's mother very well, as Jenny doesn't often go to their house. This is mainly because Morgan's house is a little chaotic. She has 4 siblings. Jenny is an only child, and Morgan has said she likes the quiet. Morgan has done a lot of stuff with us. I occasionally enter radio online competitions and will win tickets to certain local events. When I won 4 tickets to a concert last year, Jenny and I brought Morgan along with one other friend. We all had a blast. Recently, I won another pair of tickets to a concert that I plan to attend with Jenny. A few days after, I was told about a work trip that I have to take that falls that weekend. Jenny usually comes with me. So Jenny suggested we give the tickets to Morgan for her birthday. She could either go with another friend or her mom. I checked with Morgan's mom before we mentioned this to Morgan, and she said that was fine. Last night, Morgan was at our house and she seemed upset. When I asked why, she said her mom was taking her brother to the concert because her brother has never been to a concert before. I asked if Morgan's brother even liked the band, and Morgan said no, it was just the principle of the matter. Morgan and her other 3 siblings have been to concerts. He hasn't, and since they can't afford stuff like this, he gets to go. I found this unfair and honestly a waste of tickets. I called Morgan's mom to double-check this story, and she confirmed it all, including her 11-year-old son barely knowing anything about the band. I said I'm sorry, but I don't feel right giving these as a birthday gift anymore, as these were for Morgan. I said we'd give them to Jenny and Morgan's other friend, who I know likes the band, and we'll get Morgan something else for her birthday. Morgan is fine with this. Morgan's mom is pissed and says I'm trying to tell her how to parent. I don't think I am, because if a different friend gave Morgan the tickets and it was the same result, as shitty as I'd find her mom doing this, I wouldn't say anything, as that's not my business. As I am giving the tickets, I want them to go to Morgan. I'd also maybe feel different if the brother loved the band too, but as he doesn't, I don't want to give them. So here I am, left wondering if I'm being an a-hole here. Story 5. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife to never volunteer me to help her family again? My wife, 38F, and I, 39M, have been married for 8 years and have a 4-year-old son. My wife's younger brother, Joe, and his GF are moving into an apartment together at the beginning of June, but GF's lease is up at the end of April, so she needed to move out of her place. But Joe currently lives in a studio apartment, so he doesn't have room for all her stuff. So they were going to move all of GF's stuff into a storage unit for a month until they get their new place together. A little over a month ago, Joe had asked my wife if we would be able to help them move GF's stuff, and she agreed. My mill was supposed to watch our son so we could both help, but she fell ill and had to cancel. My wife suggested trying to get a babysitter for that day, but I didn't want to spend hundreds on a babysitter to help someone move. That's dumb. And bringing a 4-year-old with us would not be helpful to anyone. This turned into an argument between us because she said I should help them move while she watches our son, since I'm stronger than she is, and I know how to drive our truck with a trailer. I told her that she should help them and have them rent a U-Haul for the day. We compromised by telling Joe that I would help them, but they need to get a U-Haul instead of using our truck and trailer. Then, the morning of the move, this past Saturday, my wife told me that a friend of hers got sweet tickets through work to a hockey game for that day and invited them. Yes, sweet tickets to a playoff hockey game. She said she would be bringing our son since her friend was bringing her kids too. Great. So not only do I get stuck helping someone move, but my wife and son get to go have an amazing experience together that I miss out on. And yes, this was my son's first major sporting event, and I was missing it. And wouldn't you know it, Joe never got a U-Haul, and his GF wasn't even close to packed up and ready when I got there. I spent 8 hours and multiple trips back and forth helping them move. All the while, my wife is sending pictures to our family group chat of how much fun they're having at the hockey game. When everyone was home that night, my wife was surprised that I wasn't in a good mood. She said that I acted like I barely cared when our son was telling us about the hockey game and how much fun it was. I asked her if she was seriously confused about why I was upset, and she told me to tell her. So I started railing off all the reasons I had to be pissed off. She volunteered me to help. She got to spend the day doing something very special with our son that I missed out on. Her brother and his GF were not prepared, and I had spent the entire day doing manual labor. I ended my little rant by telling her that she is never going to volunteer me to help her family ever again. She told me I was overreacting and I can't hold it against her that her friend invited them to the game. She also said I'm not being fair by blaming her for Joe and his GF.